For more on the Iraq War's 10-year anniversary, I spoke with Charles Duelfer, leader of the Iraq Survey Group, which headed America's search for weapons of mass destruction. And I asked him what were the key takeaways from the Iraq War.
It's important to remember the context that the decisions were made at the time when the invasion took place. And I think people today often forget that it was very close to 9/11. At the time those decisions were made, the United States had just been attacked. And the president and his team looked at the risks around the world and said, hey, can we tolerate those or not tolerate them? You know, a decade later, we've looked at the risks in the world and they've changed. We're now facing terrorism, facing cyber threats. I think that looking back, we can realize how far the world has evolved, and we need to be thinking about the future problems, not the problems of the past.
Well, that being said, how did the handling of Iraq influence the dealings with other countries? How the United States deals with other countries right now with the various things going on?
I point to two things. One is the intelligence was wrong, but intelligence is frequently wrong. So in learning from that and dealing with other countries, you got to realize, well, our judgments and our assessments about what's causing them to do things may well be wrong. The other thing is, I guess, that in the United States can't do brain surgery. It would have been nice to just remove Saddam Hussein because he was the brains behind a dangerous regime. But it wasn't that simple. And things got very complicated very quickly. And we're facing the consequences of that now. Looking back, was it worth it? Tough questions to answer, even now. We still don't know how it's going to play out in Iraq or in the region, for that matter. But certainly the concern about weapons of mass destruction remains. We've learned a lot about what to look for and what not to look for. Understanding countries like North Korea and Iran. I think people have recalibrated how they need to address those questions.
Well, as you mentioned, some people may not be sure whether Iraq is better off today than it was 10 years ago. What will it take for that country to stabilize? I know it's a very complicated situation, but what will it take and how far into the future do we wait for something to change?
When we removed Saddam from Iraq, we took the gravity out of the center of a country that has a lot of different interests, tribes, economic, regional. What Iraq has to reacquire is an organizing principle, something which will cause everybody to want to come together and declare themselves first as an Iraqi, and everything else is something secondary to that. That hasn't been achieved yet. Yes, there is a central government. Yes, it's elected. Those are good things. But in the north, there are the Kurds. They've got their own set of interests. There are the Shia, largely in the south. They have their interests. And there are the Sunnis who are now feeling displaced. They were predominant under Saddam. But to this day, there hasn't been something which has caused them all to come together and to really see themselves as a national entity. That will take time.